Hello and welcome back to Better Than Adventure. Last time I was here, I completed this. So today I will work on the dock, sort of. Well, first of all, we need resources, and I don't know what to build the thing out of. Call it a creative block, so... What kind of bricks do we have? Unknown material. Unknown materials again. Lapis lazuli. So that's probably steel. So... If I pick up netherrack and put it into an oven, can I get something out of it? Please, please. Oh my goodness! Oh, I missed! What do we get? 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 Huh. Well, that looks hideous. Honestly looks like a gaping wound full of, like, bullet holes. But let's see what we can make out of it. Okay. Now if I go netherrack stays. Oh, I was correct. We can get... I'm going to use them. Sure. Fucking... On one hand, I finally have a use for all of this netherrack. On the other hand, holy shit, this game has so many block options for us to use. And on the other hand, one issue which I've seen people have with modern Minecraft, and which I don't have, is choice paralysis. Where basically, when you have about 50 billion different items, sometimes it's hard to, like, choose the one building block when there's just, you know, so many of them. Of course, I, being enlightened, I don't have that problem. I can just cook it and do... Okay, whatever. Oh, why did I get 3 here? But yeah. Generally speaking, I'm not the kind of guy to, complain about variety, but there is a point to be made. There is a point to be made where you kind of have choice paralysis when you have about 50 billion different blocks. However, I don't really consider it that valid of a complaint, mainly because of how unique all the blocks are. Especially here. The idea is to just have a lot of different texture and stuff. Ideally, you would basically have a way to paint stuff. To get, like, you know, a sort of perfect-ish combination, but it is what it is. So we'll just have to wait for a little bit to get some of the bricks, but yeah. What I like compared to, like, these ones is that they're kind of a bit different in size. It gives them a more rough look compared to, like, the other stuff. Yeah, see what I mean? They're, like, a little bit different in size. So I can't believe this looks like a fucking gaping wound. Is it an overactive imagination that's making me say that? No, I think it genuinely looks like that. Though it would be nice to unlock the entire crafting tree again after I, had an oopsie. And now it's all reset, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, like, you know, bricks. Hmm. Hmm. Wait. Pig, cow, chicken, squid, wolf, firefly, zombie, creeper, skeleton, spider, slime. Huh. Is there a way to unlock the entire thing? I bet you this is a ZOMBIE space PIGMAN. So that's a zombie pigman. What is this? It doesn't have enough letters for Herobrine, so that's good. Okay. We'll get another stack, and then we'll head out. So then we can have, like, 4 stacks to start off with. Yeah, sure. Perfect. Hmm. I was unfamiliar with your game. Part of me wants to fix that. But oh yeah, this is a limestone floor. I think because I don't know what else I'll use it for, I'll take 2 limestone bricks and just, like, yeah, put them over here. Hmm. Yeah, why not? Just share, that way it'll look a tiny bit less ugly. Hmm. Doesn't say the weather anymore. Looks a little bit foggy. An issue is, if you can look over there, we're kind of close to that, and also, if you can look kind of here, this is frozen, and I want to build, like, docks. And to build that, I don't know how I'll do it when, you know, I'll have to figure something out. I don't really need that. Off you go. Good thing that things don't grow in the winter, I guess, because, I mean, okay, you can grow them manually, like shown on this one, but yeah, I'll take the trees back until I'm sure of the design. But yeah, it's kind of nice to see how the place is developing. Because originally, I didn't really have that many plans. I was mostly just thinking about building a mansion, and then I just didn't really know what I was gonna do here. But then I realized, wow, I could really do a lot to make the place look nicer, and here we are. So, the ground floor is going to be on the same level as the water, plus 1, because I wanted to go down by 1. which will mean that I'll wanna build it out, like, up to here. Because I wanted to, like, sit up on the water a little bit. This will be, like, a big-ish structure. Oh yeah, it'll also have, like, some kind of... I don't know how flat I want to make the walls, I'll see. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4... If I do it like this... I could still deal with this somehow. Because if this is gonna be... Because, you know, my idea is to have it go up one block. This would be the bottom floor. So, then, yeah. Okay, and then this up here would be just like an extra floor. Sure. And we can just hide the fact I dug up one too many of these. Just by kind of doing this, I guess. Yeah. So then what I'll do is I'm gonna do this. Then up here is gonna be like a porch or something. That'll be kind of like that. It's 4 blocks. I think that's gonna be fine. And then I'll do this. And then as it'll continue over there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, like, have a... Well, I'm gonna make this sort of continue, because this is gonna have, like, a wooden floor. And I'll actually give it, like, a little overhang over there. So yeah, this will go like that. But that entire front section will be different. Yeah. But yeah, I want to use more than one color. I think the biggest issue with some builds is they could look nice if they use more than a single color. And sometimes they don't. So I don't want to have that mistake. I still don't know what I'll do for the front, so I've done that. And it's nighttime again, because it's winter, and nights are longer than days. Annoying, but accurate. So what I'll do is I'll just go, like, one more of these. Yeah, like... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like this, yeah. And then over here. No, over here. And yeah, so what I'll do is I'll just have, like, this be the, so that one's out by 1. So this will be, like, one big sort of open space. Which will, you know, have some pillars and stuff. You know, so up there, that's gonna be where people would go to hang out or whatever, right? On the pier. And then this will be, like, a big boathouse. And I wanted to have, like, an extra floor up here. Though I don't know how I'll do the roof. I will just do this for now. Because I wanted to sort of have a weird roof. Like, not a weird roof, but just, like, something interesting. And I want, like, a little overhang. Wait. So then what I'll do is I'll make this stop, like, a tiny bit short. Yeah, and then I'll have, like, a little overhang. Also, I have to light this up because of mobs, but the idea is to have, like, a little overhang over there for, like, the VIP section or whatever. Okay. So, like, yeah, 1, 2, 3, just something like this. One thing that is nice is that netherrack is still really fast to mine. Even in this form, so we can do this. Honestly, thinking about it now, I haven't done much with logs. Or, like, wood necessarily. Maybe I could just use wood. But yeah, I'll also kind of do this. Yeah. Okay, so let's get wood. Honestly, I think we should use oak, because I think only oak really fits well with this color. I was thinking about, like, spruce or pine or whatever, but, like, those look kind of ass, honestly, with, like, because it's a sort of dark building material, so you want a lighter wood. But what, you know, white wood is a little bit too unnatural. I don't want to use, like, because it's a P, it needs to have a sort of wooden vibe. Also getting some glass. And just about now is when I'm, yeah, mostly out of planks. As it happens to happen. That's gonna be fun, having to, like, deforest more land, but it is what it is. Can't even deforest this because it's all pine, and I don't need pine. But yeah, I think, you know, foresting this place is really good for the vibes. Because otherwise it would look kind of boring. I think that's the main thing. Whatever you do, you don't want to make it look boring. So let's think about this section, right? So how do we make a wall? Maybe by... because there's gonna be a floor there. So what if I do this? I think that looks fine. Yeah. We can fill this in with this, because, you know, there's nothing behind this. Then we can just continue doing this. I'll leave the front empty, because I don't know what I'll do there yet. Yeah, something nice is also that, there's a window view here. One interesting design decision from Better Than Adventure, which clashes with the base game, is the seasonal stuff. From my understanding in base Minecraft, one of the core principles is that excluding the creeper, the enderman, the snowman, the animals grazing, excluding a lot of stuff, the world should only change when the player changes it, excluding all of the other things I mentioned earlier. Those don't count for some reason, but yeah. So the game has these rules which are stupid. Well, I have to say they are kind of funny, because whenever... I remember for a while Minecraft discussion was like, they should add this cool feature. No, they can't. The rules that they wrote say that they can't add them. Yeah, but they wrote the rules. It's not like Microsoft telling them. One of the funniest things that I've read has to be people who claim that, Oh no, Mojang just held hostage by Microsoft. They totally want to add. No, the truth is that Mojang is just like having to focus test stuff because they are a company and they want to do it. It's not that big evil Microsoft is forcing them to, you know, focus test everything. It's that they want to do it because they believe it's good for the game. Is it good for the game to focus test every feature? No. Focus testing in general is just kind of missing the point. But in a game like Minecraft, it weirdly makes a tiny bit more sense. Mainly because the game appeals to, like, such a wide age and, you know, general demographic. That in a way, you kind of have to appeal to the lowest common denominator of children in order for the update in order to know if the update is good or not. However, as we all know, children are extremely gullible and stupid. That's the issue with the mob vote, where what do the children vote for? Well, for literally whatever the YouTubers they watch tell them to vote for. Why? Well, because they watch the YouTube man, and the YouTube man said it, so they'll do it. It's really that simple. So, yeah. And I'm pretty sure they retired the mob vote for that specific reason. It was not a bad feature necessarily. It was just a bad feature in execution every single time, because you can't and honestly shouldn't be able to vote on, like, critical game features for any game. Imagine if FromSoft let, like, the average FromSoft player vote on what they want in a FromSoft game. It'd be a disaster. Imagine if the average, like, you know, Genshin Impact player was asked what they want in Genshin Impact. It would just be a battle between, like, the male anime fans and, like, the, Fujo Brigade. And I don't know who would win, but I'd probably watch that from afar. Still, though, my main argument against everything so far that I've seen is just, I think that a lot of people, don't understand game development, and that this turns out into two crowds of people. There are people who don't understand game development, and kind of, like, lift their arms up and say, I will not talk about this at all, I don't know what I'm talking about, I assume they know more than me. This person is mostly correct, but is missing the point that the solution to your issue is to learn. And generally, when you learn stuff, you figure it out. The issue of that specific way of thinking, as you can probably tell from the half-jokey way I try to explain it, is the point of you not knowing is that, like, you know, if you know that you don't know something, then you should try to know it. At least to a solid degree. I've seen a lot of people say they don't know what goes on inside Mojang. Well, do a bit of research. It's not like Mojang isn't a hyper-secretive company. They're not like Nintendo, where Nintendo specifically tries to keep a lot of the stuff they do, like, hush-hush. Mostly because Nintendo knows a lot of their fans are, like, quite rabid, and a lot of the haters are quite rabid, so it's better to not risk, like, their employees getting harassed, right? But the issue comes when you have, you know, the issue comes with when people talk about Mojang, people see, like, how big Mojang is, right? And then people see how big, like, other companies are, like, which are comparable to Mojang in size, and then they see how comparatively little Mojang does with its entire workforce compared to other companies. And then they start asking questions like, how come this company with this many people can do so much and this company can just barely get off their ass? And the answer is that it's complicated. But the real answer is that the idea that Mojang is lazy is stupid, because the reason why features come out so slowly isn't because they're lazy. The reason they come out so slowly is because everything, I mentioned this before, like, everything needs to be vetted through 1,000 different pieces of bureaucracy and, like, general bullshit, and the only way to get your idea through is to, like, well, hope and pray. That's basically it. That's the most you can do most of the time. We've had interesting features, we've had interesting things they've added, like, if you remember, we had that, interesting mob that would, like, stalk the player or whatever, and then, you know, if you turn to look at it, it'll stop. Like, there are interesting things, but they're kind of left by the wayside. Another big issue is that, Java Minecraft is limited by Bedrock. And Bedrock itself is limited by, like, the mobile players. So, the issue is, again, because Minecraft is on all platforms, whatever funny feature Mojang wants to add has to somehow be, like, understandable to and playable by a, like, 6-year-old playing it on an iPad. And, like, that's where a huge part of the issues lay. It's just, how are you going to make a game that is simultaneously equally as playable on, like, a computer, a console, and a, you know, fucking mobile device? Games like Genshin Impact are, like, one of my favorite examples, honestly. I know, like, some people see, like, ho, Genshin Impact, because, oh yeah, the funny anime game. But, like, if you ever tried to, like, at the very least, if you've looked into Genshin, you don't even have to play it, you'd know that getting that shit to run on a phone is surprisingly impressive. Of course, some people don't care if something is impressive or not, and it just being something they don't like is enough for them to hate it, but realistically speaking, like, Genshin is a surprisingly decent game. It's one of those things which I never would have expected when I first tried the game out, but, like, it is the issue of gacha games, and the reason why I've never, you know, liked them is because I don't spend money on, like, microtransactions at all, on principle, because I'm me. And the issue with gacha is that they're built around it. However, at some point, the Genshin Impact the Genshin Impact designers, when they were making the game, realized that if you make a good game, and then add microtransactions, and then you, like, make the game not really require them, but push you in that direction if you're that kind of person, well, then we can actually have something interesting on our hands, and it's clearly worked out well for them. Realistically, would Genshin be a better game if the, like, game was just sold as one package, and you would unlock heroes based on, like, story progression, and not by microtransaction? Yeah, it would. And if you think it wouldn't, you're wrong. But is the game in its current state bad? I'd say no. I'd say it's pretty damn... Oh, fuck. I'll have to figure something out. I'd say it's pretty damn fun for what it is. For the simple reason that it's a well-designed video game. You know, it's just one of those things where... and I think the mark of a good game, to me, and this may show bias, but it's when you can go do something, meet someone, like, in a random... You know, when you just want to explore the world of a game, and then you get distracted, 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 and then you... And it's 5 hours later, you're in an unknown part of the map, which you've never been to before. Thankfully, the world around you kind of scales to your level, so you can still explore it fine. But you're helping these guys explore, like, ancient ruins underneath, like, Chinese Egypt or whatever, and, the machines are waking up. Or, I fell into a hole. Turns out at the bottom of this hole, there's a weird, like, force field. Let me try to break the force field. Wow, there's an entirely new part of the map down here with its own set of quests and interesting things to find. That is what I feel is like the mark of a good game. It's just the ability for you to get lost in areas which aren't really, you know, spelled out for you. Maybe the story eventually goes to those areas for other reasons, you know, just using them for set dressing, but if a game can make you want to explore the world just on your own because you're interested, it's doing something, like, very right. And Genshin can do that. And, of course, the issue is, again, I mean, it is Genshin. You come to a point where if you talk about the game positively, some people get mad because it's an anime video game, even though... technically anime is whatever, you know. It's one of those things where you can't win. So the only winning move is to tell the person who's trying to tell you that to please shower. Because chances are, if somebody's trying to debate with you on whether or not a video game... like, on whether or not a game is good or not, and... the reason for it not being that is that it's an anime game. It's because the smelly. That's the reason. You may not like the reasoning that I'm giving you, but it's correct. Unlike the big list of this sounds stupid, right? But on the big list of things that are just kind of facts, if somebody, like, says something is good, purely because it's, like, an anime game, they probably don't shower. If somebody says that something is bad, because it's an anime thing, chances are, they also probably don't shower. It's just that one of these guys doesn't shower, and then plays, like, fucking, Azure Lane or whatever, and the other guy doesn't shower and then plays, like, World of Warcraft or, like, League of Legends. And I know, like, oh, World of Warcraft, what do you have? I don't have anything against World of Warcraft. I have an issue with people who don't shower and have cockroaches crawl all over them, and then they try to give out critiques of literally anything else. If you can tell who I'm talking about, you can get a gold star. You can get another gold star if you convince him to shut up. Because I'm just tired of hearing about him. No, but for real though, it is... I would be embarrassed to be him. You know the video where, like, he tries to drink water? And then he's so disgusted by the taste of normal water that he has to wash it down with soda? That's not good. That's bad. Uh-oh. But yeah, seriously, It's just... You see this stuff a lot online. A lot of people don't really have... and this is kind of the issue. This is why I'm annoyed with whenever somebody shit talks like game journalists. 9 times out of 10, when somebody shit talks game journalists, this person, like the person shit talking them, couldn't write a good review. Nor do they know what reviewing is. 9 times out of 10, like when I hear game journalism bad, it is wah wah wah. The game journalist gave my favorite video game only an 8 out of 10. And 1 times out of 10, it's like, well, yeah, the review is unfair. But, like, you know, most times, it's baby rage. It just is. Of course, there are examples when that's not the case. Rarely. But there are examples, you know? Sometimes. Again, rarely. And as much of a fan as I am of, video games, one thing which I'm really not a fan of is people being annoying about, like, video game stuff. Because, believe it or not, I play video games for fun. Video games are like... I remember some people talking about, oh, it's escapism, it's this, it's that. No, I play video games because they're fun. I don't use any cop-out that it's this or that. No. For me, it's a thing I do for fun, for enjoyment. Of course, when I say fun, I don't mean the game has to be fun in order for me to enjoy it. It just means I need to enjoy the game. Fun and enjoyment are not the same thing, even if they are often considered the same thing. And if you want an example of that, try playing... What's that game called again? Try playing Pathologic. Or try watching the H-Bomber Guy video on Pathologic. It's probably, like, in the top 10 games people, you know, games people talk positively about without ever playing. But, like, Pathologic in itself is a really good example of a game which you can enjoy without having fun in it. Even if, you know, if you're gonna actually enjoy it is very dependent on the person who's playing it. You know, it's one of those kinds of games. And there's also nothing wrong with that. Very often people are way too, like, obsessed with a game, you know, confining to what they consider good. Or whatever. Or, like, they'll be... You know, sometimes people just like to shit on genres which they don't like for the simple reason that they don't like the genre. Like, there are YouTubers whose entire careers are basically built off of them shitting on otherwise good games because they're the genre the YouTuber doesn't like. If you look up Octopath Traveler review, you will see a review by a guy called Video Game Donkey. If you ever wanted to watch a guy straight up try his best to misrepresent a game, like to the point where he will take off his armor and equipment and use weak attacks specifically so he can pretend a game is worse than it actually is, just so he can make a video saying RPG bad, and by that, like, try to destroy the game's reputation. If you want that, Video Game Donkey is my recommendation for a channel that will perfectly encapsulate what I just said. Honestly, if you need to watch something like that, sure. But if you want an actual review of Octopath, watch a different video. Oh yeah, also, one of my favorite things with, and this isn't a donkey thing, I know, like, #1 hater of, like, people who bullshit in their reviews, yeah, that's me, but one of my overall favorite things has to be just general inconsistency. For instance, imagine, like, do I think you need to play through the whole game in order to write, like, in order to have, like, a valid opinion on it, like, or a valid review? I'm gonna say no. And I don't mean, like, 100%. I mean, like, you don't have to beat the boss in, you know... Wait a minute. You don't have to beat the boss, like, in the Fifth Element for the PS1 to find out it's a shitty game. You don't have to, like, you know, finish Bubsy 3D to decide if it's a bad game or not. Some things are obvious. Also, this video is getting long, but I'll deal with it. It's gonna be done soon. The issue is, and I know I've kind of rambled on about this for a while, but, like, there needs to be consistency in, like, what you say. I personally believe that you don't have to play an entire game in order to write a review if the game is very obviously, you know, bad in a way that you can just tell it's gonna be the entire game, right? Like, if you're playing a platformer and the main character controls like a wet fish, chances are, midway through the game, you know, the controls aren't magically going to fix themselves. But RPGs are this weird area where, especially JRPGs, some of them can really drag their feet in the beginning and then massively pick up, like, as the story goes on, and become really cool by the end. Of course, if you just play the first chapter of a game, then record the first chapter and edit the dialogue to make it seem worse than it is, well, you can make the game look worse than it actually is. And by, of course, you know, doing that, you can bullshit people into believing the game is worse than it is, and well, that's what he did. If you can't tell, still talking about what he did to Octopath. Yeah, it's just, I don't want to use the term unfair, because, I mean, it is unfair, but, like, saying a review is unfair is just kinda, you know. But, realistically, the issue is not, you know, and it's kind of like, somebody's asked me before, like this before, from the people who I talk with, it's like, well, you don't have to watch Donkey. And, well, yeah, I don't. But the point isn't, and this is something which is really important for people to get. I'm not, like, if I had an issue with something somebody did, I would probably not talk about it as much as I'm talking about this. The issue isn't as much as some guy having an opinion, right? You can believe whatever you want. My issue is when somebody uses their large platform to bullshit people, or, like, to just kind of foster a very specific type of community that is basically pre-programmed to be allergic to any kind of criticism. And then to have that community, like, accept the person's bullshit and spread it as fact. To me, that crosses a line. And I know it's like, oh, a line's being crossed, what's gonna happen? No, seriously, it's to the point where, like, when you really start looking into it, it's why I haven't watched the guy in ages. It's like, it's why I don't wanna, like, you know, whenever I'm watching somebody, and I know they've been dishonest in the past, I can never watch a person's review, like, oh, that person's stuff ever again, right? Because it's one of those things where, when you break someone's trust, it's not about, okay, you lied that time. But until you regain that trust, every single thing you do will be seen, and, you know, will be seen in the light of, okay, this person has bullshitted me before, what does he want to do now? And I'm in the minority, because a lot of people don't really seem to care, which is sad. I believe people should care about, like, the quality of the stuff they're watching, and if the review they're watching is actually being honest. I think people should care about that sort of stuff, because I like video games, and I want people to make accurate, correct reviews that don't lie. But that's just me. And as you can very clearly see, by, like, if you would, you know, do compare view counts, it's very clear what it is. It's just very clear that, like, it's the same thing with science communication, right? A lot of the time, bullshit that's given to you by a guy who kinda sounds funny, or who's entertaining, will always draw in more people than, like, the boring truth, right? That's why angry reviewers were so popular, even if the games they reviewed weren't completely shit. But yeah, I'll see you next time when we continue finishing up the house. I kinda like it. Bye-bye.